Teaching, training, and delegation. Those are the three legs upon which empowerment lie. My name is Demola Awoyele, and I want to say, welcome to Leaders Arise. This is that platform where we get to learn useful insights that help leadership, growth, and development. It doesn't matter who you are, a pastor of a local church, a husband at home, a startup business owner, a MD of a company, a politician, or what have you. You would find useful, implementable insights that will help you to drive your life and your enterprise from this platform. So, at the last episode, I started discussing what empowerment entails. We've been running a series on the empowering leader because the truth of the matter is nobody is in leadership to just lead followers. You have been in leadership to raise leaders. A lot of people are only leading followers. It doesn't matter how much followers or how many followers you're leading, it doesn't translate to leadership. Leadership is seen in how much development that is taking place in your leadership, meaning you're able to transform followers to leaders. And that was what began this series on the empowering leader, because the road to raising leaders is actually the road of empowerment. And I said empowering people means sharing power, giving power to them, helping them to stand on their own and to be able to discharge leadership with little or no assistance from you. And I said God empowered Adam in Genesis, Jesus empowered the disciples, Paul or the apostles empowered the deacons, the lay ministers, to do as much as they would have done also. Moses was told by God to share his spirit, or God shared the spirit of Moses upon the 70 elders. And you will see all this scattered all over scriptures. So today I want to pick it on and go further on that discussion. So I said three things that make up empowerment is teaching, training, and delegation. I said teaching is about sharing information, imparting knowledge. Let your people know as much as you know if possible. Bridge the knowledge gap, because whatever gap that exists between you and the led is a potential spot that the devil can exploit in pulling down your leadership, whether it's in the marriage, home front, whether it's in the local church, in the business place. You must ensure that you bridge or close the knowledge gap. So let me ask you today, how much knowledge gap there is in your leadership? If you are a pastor of a local church, how much knowledge gap there is between you and the flock? If you are a husband at home, you have a wife and children, how much knowledge gap there is between you and your spouse or your children? That knowledge gap is a potential area where the devil can exploit to drag your leadership. And that will also be the area where your leadership will malfunction. Because a lot of people have been asking themselves, why is my leadership this way? Why is my family like this? They have not taken time to check that gap that exists. Now, obviously, you are going to know more than the people you are leading, but that gap mustn't be that much. That's where I'm going, because sometimes we have overemphasized the place of leaders gaining knowledge, upskilling, learning new things so that they can be able to lead their people. But nobody teaches people, or few people are taught on how to now impart the same knowledge to people. For example, as a leader, if I go to any seminar or conference, I want to come back home with the things I learned, impart my people. In fact, these days, I even love to take my people there. Let them learn what I'm learning. All right? It's not competition, this is complementation. It actually complements my work. There are some things I don't have to say again because the people that I'm leading have learned the same thing from me. There are some books that when I finish reading, I pass it to the people I'm leading. It makes my work easier. You know, some people can get to my library and say, sir, can I get any book there? I point them to my library. They pick books, or I pick books for them. So there's nothing like hiding your materials. I'm not saying you should be careless about your materials. Keep them safe, but don't hide them. If the Bible were hidden from all of us, they would not have been the sound Christian that we are. All right, don't hide them. It is the ministry of the Old Testament that is full of veil, or that has veil. Always want to hide. But in the New Testament, everything is made open. We can access as much information or revelation about God as we so desire. And the same thing about leadership. A leader must teach. And as I said, to teach does not mean you're an expert in teaching profession. It simply means that you're able to impact people with what you know. Whatever format you want to do that, informal setting, formal setting, what have you. But let every moment or period in your leadership journey be the period where you get to impact people with knowledge. For example, as a father at home, I teach my children a lot. Every slight opportunity, I want to teach them. I want to teach them. Very important. So that's that about teaching. Today, I want to look at the second leg of empowerment, which is training. Somebody might want to ask, so what is the difference between teaching and training? The difference is that training goes some steps ahead of teaching. In teaching, you pass information. In training, you are after formation. They sound alike. There is information, there is formation. So when you teach people, you are simply passing information to them. But when you train people, you are forming them. So teaching is about information. Training is about formation. I'll give you a good example. You must have heard people talk about a trained medical doctor, a trained lawyer, a trained engineer. Those are not simple words. That you read some books about medicine does not make you a trained medical doctor. That you have the Nigerian Constitution does not make you a trained lawyer. So, whereas information is general, but training is well targeted. Training is specific. So, in training, we do beyond passing information, we take people through a formation process. For example, when you enter the medical school from year 1, the medical school has a goal. The goal is that after 6-7 years, you are supposed to become a doctor. So all that they are going to take you through for the 6 years or thereabout is towards you becoming a doctor. So you are not just leaving the medical school as somebody that knows medicine. You can know medicine, but you are not a doctor yet. You are not a medical doctor. Somebody saying, but Pastor, what are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is this. That you, for example, of us know a few things about medicine because we Google, we read a lot. We know some things about the liver, about heart, but that doesn't make us a doctor. Because those who have gone through medical school, beyond just the information, there are schedules, there are things that they take them through that form them. For example, they take them into the anatomy laboratory. Or as you must have had medical doctors, if they spend about a year or so or more dissecting human being, they go to the anatomy laboratory or something, they dissect. You can't read book and say you know about the body. Of course, you can know about it, but it doesn't mean that you can sufficiently operate or treat a sick person. Because medical doctors, part of their training is that they are exposed to the anatomy of the human body. So they literally pieces the human body, dead body actually. So that's what training entails. So training is geared towards formation, whereas teaching is more of information. So I want to ask you, are you a teacher or you are a trainer? I think every leader should graduate from being a teacher to being a trainer. A teacher is more interested in information. A trainer is more interested in formation. Whereas teaching can be general, training is specific. It is skill specific. It is expertise specific. Or rather, that means we have a goal as to what we want to produce out of the person that we are training. Another thing you need to know about training is that training has schedules. That's why for you to be a trained medical doctor, you don't read the medical books as at when you want to read it. That is the difference between a medical doctor to be and another person. For example, I can pick up a medical book, read it whenever I want to read it. But for a medical doctor who is being trained, there's a schedule. There are things you must read. That's why they write exam. That's why they have semester, they have courses. And each of them is timed. So in training, there is time. Timing or schedule is part of the element that make for effective training. Another thing that make for effective training is discipline. When a person is being trained, is taken through discipline. And that's why most of the courses, if not all, that we studied on campus, they normally call them discipline. They say, which discipline are you from? Are you from the humanities, or you are from engineering, or you are from whatever it is they call it? Why do they call it discipline? Because it takes discipline to go through such training. So anyone who says he's training people or is being trained must ask himself, is there an element of discipline in this procedure or process that we are going through? Then the third point that make for training is stretch. People are not trained unless they are stretched. For example, again, anyone who goes through a university campus will agree with me that there is an added stretch. I normally tell students around me when they complain, oh, I have to study this, I have to do this, these things. I said, that's why it is training. It is not training. For example, now, most of the courses that some of us study for 4 months or 3 months on campus, if you are given 1 year to study, you probably will have performed better. The exam you are told to write, for example, in those days when we write university matriculation examination, they give us 45 minutes to answer a 60-minute question. I tell people, if you are to do it in 2 hours, you probably will score 45, if not 50 over 50. But because you are going to go through the stretch of having to do a 60 question in 45 minutes, that stretch is what brings the training. So how do you know you are being trained? Number one, there's a schedule, all right, to what it is you are doing. Number two, or number one, is that it is towards information. It is towards you are being formed into something. Number two, there is a schedule. You don't do it when you want to or when you like to. Number three, there must be discipline. Then number four, all right, which I just actually mentioned now, is the fact that there must be stretch. So one of the things you don't want to do as a leader is to spare your people. You must do your best to stretch them. I use the word stretch on purpose. It's not stress, it is stretch. Make them do beyond what they thought they could do. By the time you are able to do that for them, you are training them. It's more like a rubber band. A rubber band is not useful unless it's stretched. So when you stretch it, it is useful. But when you don't stretch it, it is useless. And that's what makes for effective training. I will continue from here at the next episode. We have been discussing the empowering leader, 3 elements that make for empowerment, teaching, training, and of course, delegation. The next episode, I will pick up on the 3rd point. Thank you for being a part of this broadcast. My name is Demola Awoyele, and I look forward to another great time with you. In case you have questions, comments, or feedback, send them across to us. And of course, share this video wherever it is you can share. Like our page if you're on Facebook. Subscribe to our channel if you're on YouTube. And of course, watch out for another exciting episode. Till then, go right there, be trained, and be a trainer. Bye for now.